Thank you for joining me today. You're tuning into the Coffee with Lisa podcast, where extraordinary guests share their extraordinary stories in business and in life, as well as they share their business expertise with us. My goal as your host is to make sure you walk away with at least one golden nugget that you can apply immediately to your business or to your life. Today, I have a very special guest with me. She is an expert when it comes to advising other businesses on how to use their CRMs. And I'd like to welcome Tamara Burkett to the show. Bring her on. Hi, Tamara.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. So tell me, I want to start with your story. So where did you come from? I know that I know you well because we were in a millionaire mastermind together. But let other people kind of share a little bit about who are you and where'd you come from and how did you get to be where you are today?
Sure. So my background is in organizational management. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I worked in the nonprofit sector. And I was in charge of a regent for before and after school programming. So I'm very familiar with how systems work and how to work with people and how to communicate with them, and different segments of people, from donors to volunteers to staff. So that was really my sweet spot and my expertise. And again, like 4 or 5 years ago, the organization decided to downsize. And I always wanted to start a business, and felt at that time that I would have to start over anyway. I might as well really bet on myself. And so I jumped in head first. And at the time, I began consulting in the client retention, customer loyalty arena. It's evolved since then because I learned that, strategy is really as good as its execution. And in order to execute your customer strategy, you need a tool to help you do that, at least on a consistent basis. So that's when I, tumbled down that rabbit hole of CRM systems to understand how that can help my clients, and discovered that that was a huge challenge on its own. And so I did a pivot and started to focus on CRM systems.
Yeah. And so, for those of you who are watching who maybe don't even know what is a CRM, first of all, they've heard the acronym, but they'd actually know what it is. Explain to us, what is a CRM?
Sure. A CRM, it stands for Customer Relationship Management. It's a software or a platform that's designed to help you communicate with your business relationships, with your potential customers, your network, your existing customers. Like I said, it's really that execution tool to help you with following up.
Yeah, and it's really about systems and processes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or processes, depending on where you are in North America.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
But it's really about, making sure that you have an integration in your management as far as, creating the best client experiences possible, correct?
Absolutely. And it definitely depends on, again, your customer strategy. How do you generate that interest for your customers and potential customers?
So truly, like at the core of who you are, Tamara, I mean, I know you fairly well, but others don't. Like, why why CRMs? Like what's the passion behind? Because you are very passionate about making sure that businesses really have the right one for you. You're not married to a specific platform, and we're going to get a little bit more into the different platforms later. But why this? Why this? Why are you so passionate about this particular service and portion of people's business?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I'm not a techie. I'm far from being a techie. I don't know code. I work with technology when I need it, but I prefer the one-on-one interaction with people. And that's where my passion really stemmed from. It's that connection. It's understanding how I can relate to people and how I can really keep in contact with folks. And that's something that is a part of my personality. It's a skill that I had to learn in nonprofit, and it never left me. And once I was able to build that muscle and understand the importance of it, not just from a business aspect, but also from a personal and more of a spiritual aspect of it, how we need people.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to bring that into the marketplace and help small and micro companies do that on a larger scale. So that's really where my passion lies.
That's awesome. I mean, we need more people like you, advocating for our businesses, who can
Hmm.
see outside the walls of our business. Because, we often, as business owners, get so emotionally attached to what we're doing
Absolutely.
that
Hmm.
it makes it really hard for us. I know I struggle in my own business. I can see it so clearly for other businesses.
Yes,
When it's your own business, it's the emotional attachment and all, the distractions that occur that
absolutely.
struggle, and stop us from really understanding the right system and process and what's the best tools to use.
Hmm.
It's important that we align ourselves with really passionate people when we do that. And so
Absolutely.
thank you for your wonderful gift, because more of us could use it. So people who are watching right now, if
Hmm.
you're watching and you have questions for Tamara, please put them in the comments, because that's what this is about. I know I've got lots of questions about CRM, and you and I have talked about like different tools to use and so forth.
Hmm.
But put them in the comments so that we can ask, or Tamara can afterwards, she can respond to your questions accordingly.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
we talked about what is a CRM.
Hmm.
Uh, let's talk a little bit more about how does a CRM help business owners with the sales of their
Hmm.
business.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, one, it does depend on the type of CRM system that you have and where you have challenges. And when I say the type of CRM system, I'm really looking at the how do you um, how do you generate your leads? Excuse me, your leads. And so based on that, you'll have different functions and different things within the CRM system that you would need. So for instance, some people really want to see the whole process in terms of it being visual. So the whole sales process, they want it to have kind of like a Kanban feel where you can visualize each step in your sales process. That way you can identify where each person is in that whole piece, so you'll know what to say and what comes next, right? So that's one functionality that people look for. There's also the ability to forecast your sales. So understanding what's in your pipeline is really, it's a huge motivation factor, right? So if you look at your pipeline and see how many people or how much money is in there, you're more likely to follow up with people and do it on a consistent basis. And those are the two main pieces I like to look for when I'm working with clients, because a lot of times they're not really tracking that. They don't know where people are in their pipeline. They don't know how much money. They can't forecast the potential of what's coming in, and so that's the major piece.
And so the tool really is the mechanism that gives you the analytics and the reporting behind, so that you have a better understanding and a better grip on your sales cycle and incoming and outgoing and so forth, correct? But you
Yeah.
really have to have somebody manage the right tool, because every system has a different way of populating that information. You populating it in and then it actually reporting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks different depending on the system, and some is just raw data.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you have to figure out or learn to populate the different reports so you can analyze and create those insights. And then there are some that create the insights for you. They create the reports for you. You just have to look.
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So how do you really understand then, Tamara? Like, walk me through your process. I mean, I know your process because you and I have gone through it to a
Hmm.
certain degree. But for those who are like, how do you understand what system is best for each client. So if I'm watching this right now, I want to really understand, well, what are the tools? Like what are the different tools that I can use, first of all, and how do I know if it meets my needs? Because you can start going down a huge rabbit hole real quick with spending lots of money against tools that might not really be advantageous.
Yeah. So
Oops.
that will help me determine, or even like anyone who's in the market, determine what type of CRM system you need. So if you're somebody that uses market automation to generate leads, that will be a different CRM system versus someone who focuses more on social selling, which is more based on social media and engaging people that way. That's a different platform versus someone who does the one-on-one and the face-to-face and works through that channel. So understanding where you generate your leads, and then what is that process, what comes next. It has a lot to do. I also look at, again, where is it bottlenecking in your whole process? So you have a process, where are the challenges? And so that helps identify the essential functions that you need when you're looking for a CRM. Because let's face it, it can be very seductive. Like if you talk to a sales rep or anyone who's doing a demo, it's very appealing. It's very sexy. I like to say that it looks sexy. And then when you get it home and you have to figure it out on your own, it's like, oh crap, what did I sign up for? Because you have to build it out. So I really look for that piece. That way you can bypass all the other features that might be appealing, but you don't need. So that's the first phase of that. And then understanding that this is a commitment. When you sign up for CRM systems, it's not, you put in so much time to find the right one, then you have to build it out. And so if that's something that you're not interested in, if that's too detailed of an information or it takes too much time, then be prepared to invest in someone who can do it for you, because it does take about 40 to 80 hours to really customize it. But this is just the beginning of the journey. After you customize it, you still have to work at maintaining it. And that will require you putting aside, blocking off time once a week or once every other week, that you are in there exploring all the different features and how to connect to get the things you need from it, so that it does have a return of investment for you. So this is part of a journey, just like you have a customer journey, a customer experience that you are intentionally designing. Your CRM is a journey for you. And the more that you consistently practice that and you give it time, the more your business and your customer journey will evolve and improve for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's, we're talking about, you're talking about businesses that already possibly have some kind of system or process in place. There's a lot of businesses and a lot of thought leader businesses that I work with that don't have a system in place. It's a complete missing structure in their entire business model.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a step back for a second. What if you don't have anything? I mean, like, it's overwhelming to think about what are all the differences. I mean, you can go to Infusionsoft. So my experience, for example, I went to Infusionsoft, which I call Confusionsoft. I spent a lot of money to hire the right experts to actually create the back end of the system for a complete funnel that I was running. And in the end, when I had to take it over and manage it after they were done with their part of their business, of what they were helping me with, I was so confused. It was so difficult to understand. And then the integration part, I've got all these other systems and processes that are working in my business. I got, email marketing that's happening, which was Infusionsoft. And then I've got, Unbounce, which was landing pages. And then I've got social media happening over here, and everything has to integrate together. It was just like, I don't know where to where to start or stop or how to figure this all out. I'm not a tech guru,
Yeah.
I'm just starting out in the business. And so I think that there's a lot of things that people need to think about. There's a handful of resources that you currently have in your business. Now,
Mhm.
it might be you're pushing social media posts, so you're using Hootsuite, or
Mhm.
you're using there's a number of different tools that you can use.
Mhm.
And so you and I really had a conversation about the tools that I currently am using in my business and
Mhm.
what CRM is there a one that fits all product out there. And we came up and our conversation started to go around using the system, and I just forgot the name of it.
Sharp Spring.
Sharp Spring,
Mhm.
which, for me was a great solution. And so I know Scott Colonna, he's out there right now, and I know he uses different systems. And so one of the advantages of Sharp Spring was that I can now, I can get rid of Unbounce. I
Mhm.
can get rid of Hootsuite. I
Mhm.
can get rid of Active Campaign.
Mhm.
Like I can get rid of Pipe Drive, like all these other tools that I have, because that one tool uses everything. That doesn't
Mhm.
mean it's right for every other business, but
Right.
walk me through, um, for a new business who's just starting out,
Mhm.
is the one fit all? This is where I'm going. This
Uh-huh.
idea of Sharp Spring better than something else, and is it more cost effective? Like, what's your
Mhm.
advice to that new person starting out with their business?
Absolutely. So Sharp Spring is definitely an investment, and it's for people who are more advanced in their business. They're more established. They have processes that they know are effective. It works, and now they're looking for kind of like a system or technology to really house that and to build those systems up. So it's definitely not a one fit all type of system, because there are thousands of CRMs out there, and there are new ones that are coming on the market every day.
Yeah,
And so you have different systems that are tailored towards different industries, different business sizes. They have some that are really built towards your own philosophy about customer relationships. Are you more transactional versus more relational? They have, so it's just, there's so much variety out there that you can really find one that's tailored towards your beliefs, like your values, ones that's tailored towards how you work.
yeah,
And there are experts out there that believe, that whole idea of having one system, one CRM system to house everything. And it really does depend on, again, your work style.
yeah.
How do you process data? What do you need to see as soon as you open up the system? What's easy for you? And so a lot of times we have people like yourself who have multiple tools that you're using, and to understand why you have those tools and what it does for you is really important when you're looking at CRM systems, because it should fit in that piece. It shouldn't overtake that. And next thing you know, you have to change your habits and how you do things. It's really supposed to amplify what you're doing and simplify it as well. And so it's really important that when you are looking for CRMs, you're looking for something that's tailored towards you and how you work, and not necessarily towards like your peers and what they do and how they work, because it'll be different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, and industry specific, like you said, you talked about some industry specific tools.
Mhm.
So I know I have a friend who's a mortgage broker, and
Mhm.
they have a very specific CRM system for mortgage brokers.
Yep.
Another one is a real estate guru, and they have specific for their real estate. So it
Mhm.
is and does depend on. But how do you? So when you're working with clients, is there like a checklist that before you even start? That you say, okay, this is what I need to know, or what you need to think about, whether you work with me or you don't work with me, so that it really helps start to understand the process and the system of what you should be looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are two things that I give to my clients. First is just an overall general assessment to help people understand where they are. So it's about like a 15 or 20-minute assessment that identifies what people already have, whether you have different systems in place, whether you even have the mindset in place that you're ready to take this on, and the things that you should consider, and maybe you haven't, when it comes to your team and how they'll work in the system. So it's a comprehensive assessment, take about 15-20 minutes for you to fill out, engage where you are, and that will give me an idea of what what we need and how to start putting an action plan and identifying those things that you need. And then the other part is identifying the actual process that you have and the systems that you are currently using and why you're using those systems. So then we can have that, we can start creating the CRM strategy of, okay, what type of CRM system that you need, what we'll use it for, and how it will integrate with the existing system, so that we have a complete understanding of, again, what you need in a system versus what your other um, tools are doing for you.
Right.
Again, it's supposed to amplify what you're doing.
Right.
Hmm.
And so, you're not tied to one system. That's the great thing that I love about you,
Yeah.
Tamara, that, you understand, uh, for example, there's
Hmm.
Sharps,
Hmm.
there's, what's another one? Infusionsoft,
Yep. There's
Salesforce,
HubSpot. Yeah.
like there's a number of them. So if you're just starting out, what is the system that you recommend? If you don't really have much of a system or a process, you are a junior to
Hmm.
the world of CRMs, what would you recommend?
So it's hard for me to pinpoint like one CRM that everyone should use if you're starting out,
Yeah,
um, because people are unique in that way. But when you're first starting out, it's almost like you need training wheels. You need
right,
to refine your process to make sure that it's effective and that you're disciplined and you're sticking to it.
right,
So it's a plan that you have to identify the different features that you need. And I say the number one feature that people starting out need is something that I help remind you to reach out to people, remind you to keep in touch. I think a lot of us need that secretary or that assistant to help remind us of what we should do when it comes to keeping in contact with our people. And just by doing that, you'll definitely see an increase of qualified leads and an increase in sales. And again, refining your process. And so those type of CRMs are really contact management based CRMs, which are really affordable. They can run you as low as $17 a month, as high as about like $50 a month. And so that's where I would start the search.
right. Okay.
Hmm.
And what would be a content management based system, like a name, so people know? Because I know you don't get paid by promoting. That's not the goal of this. This is really, the goal is, if they're watching this and they don't have a CRM,
Hmm.
at least they have a starting point that they can say, okay, Tamara, I invested in,
Hmm.
and now you help me get to the next level.
Right. So there are a couple of CRMs that are heavily contact management based. One is called Less Annoying CRM. Um, Cute name, right? And Less Annoying CRM again is a good start because it helps you with the reminder and staying organized, right? And those are the main things that you need starting out.
Yeah,
And then there are a couple other ones that you can take a look at. One is called Close. You could always take a look at that one. That's a fun CRM that you can do on your phone. It has a phone app as well as desktop version. And I say that it's a fun app because it gives you an agenda, and there are certain things that they have on your agenda on a daily basis. They have things like update contact information or meeting reminders and keep in touch, right? Where
yeah,
if you're on your phone, you can swipe left or swipe right to update contact. So it's almost like a game where you can use while you're standing in line or doing something mindless. It's
Yeah,
fun.
it's like the
Yeah.
Tinder of content management.
Right. Tinder.
Not that I know what Tinder's about because
Right. Not that I've been on there.
I've seen it happen with other people. So
Right.
okay, so that's really good to know because then that's at least a starting point for
Hmm.
folks, and then they can graduate from there into a more senior system, which is
Hmm.
really important.
Yeah.
Um, what is the one mistake that most people make that you see with the CRM or with the content management system? What's the one mistake that traditionally most people make?
Oh, I see a lot of mistakes. So, well, one of the mistakes I see people make is that they sign up for the most popular CRM there is,
Right.
because they don't know what they don't know, and they figure, well, this is popular for a reason, right? And they get into it, and they have no clue what to do in it, and it's just such a big CRM. So I'll say that's the biggest issue, is really preparing yourself mentally to understand that this is an investment, not just in money and in your finances. It's also investment in your time,
Right.
because it's really about creating and being very intentional about the customer experience, whether it's somebody that's the center of influence that you want to grow a relationship with, or if it's a qualified lead. You still want to be very intentional, because that's part of your brand. How you
Yeah.
treat people and interact with people is a huge part of what they'll say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
So understanding that that takes time, and it's a definitely investment before you start your search. I think you'll people are more willing to do the due diligence
Yeah.
in the search and in building it out, when they understand the value, and that it will be an investment in their resources.
Right, right. And it all
Hmm.
depends on the size of the team that you have too, right?
Yeah.
Uh, depending, if you have a full sales team, a CRM is going to be highly valuable. But if you're just starting out and you maybe only have one, or you're a solopreneur, you know, what that CRM looks like is going to look very differently than
Yeah.
the way the system works elsewise.
Right.
And
And what you
it,
needed to do would be different if you have a team. One of the issues with teams is that you can overload your inbox with communication with the team. So understanding that's a solution, or that's a challenge that a CRM can definitely solve for you. So again, it's taking that time to understand what the challenges are as well.
yeah, yeah. And then of course, even after that, it's about what are the next steps. So it's really not just looking at your CRM. It's a little
Hmm.
bit what we talked about before, but it's actually looking about all the other systems and processes and technology that you're using, and how can you migrate or integrate and make sure that you're using them to the fullest potential. So what is the one feature that you consistently see business owners, regardless if they're small or large,
Hmm.
um, not use in a CRM that they should be using? That if you were to showcase and you could wave your magic wand and
Hmm.
say everybody would just use this, it would make everybody's lives so much easier in their business.
Yeah. So I think one of the number one features that people overlook is the data that they're storing,
Interesting.
and being able to use that data to improve their business systems and processes. So a lot of times, we get, as business owners, we get so carried away with immediate results of increasing our sales and increasing profit margins and efficiency, that we fail to sometimes we overlook the data and what that's telling us. A lot of times we go off of assumptions, and so to be able to look at the CRM and say, okay, I know what it's going to do with me in the front end of things in terms of my systems, but on the back end, how can I use this data to improve my business and move it further? And so having that plan as well, and understanding how the system itself processes the data, will give you a better insight in not only what type of CRM system that you need, but all the benefits that that you can leverage to scale your business.
Right, right. And so
Mhm.
when you're looking at CRMs, then you really should be walking yourself through all the tutorials of the different systems. So if you don't have somebody like you, Tamara, that's on your team that really understands the
Mhm.
difference in all the different systems, because I mean, I can't imagine the amount of time and research it takes for you to really understand all the systems to better serve your clients.
Mhm.
To really look at all the tutorials first before they make the investment. Would that be a fair piece of advice?
Well, I will definitely, maybe not all the tutorials, because some CRMs, they have a lot of videos, but just taking a look at the first two will give you an idea, one, of how they teach, and if you're able to process and absorb that knowledge, right, from how they teach. And so it's definitely important to look at a couple of those tutorials and say, okay, if there's something that I don't know, I can look at these tutorials and it'll easily walk me through that.
Right, right.
So yeah, you're right, you should look at a few of them.
Yeah, yeah. So, before we close the show, because we're getting close to the close of the show, what's the second piece of advice that you recommend any business owner of any size, when they're looking at at a CRM? What to start moving forward with? What would that piece of advice be?
So I would I would advise people when they first start their search to be very careful when asking their peers advice about CRMs. They may have a CRM that works great for them, right? Fantastic. They love it. But
Yeah,
again, even if they're in the same industry as you, that does not necessarily mean that that's the right system for you. So be very careful when asking advice. And this is not the part of your business where you should take shortcuts. A CRM is a tool that big corporations have used, and that's where it started. And now it's finally had trickled down to smaller businesses. So this isn't something to take lightly.
okay.
Mhm.
And you talked a little bit about the data and that being, one of the most overlooked components and features of any CRM, whether, regardless of which one it is.
Mhm.
Um, is the reporting to the data just as important? Like, I would think that one CRM looks very different in how they report that data
Mhm.
versus another one. And what should we be looking for when we're looking at the reports?
Yeah. So there are certain reports that you need for business that will help you to forecast sales, that'll help you identify any type of gaps and things in your business. And so you should look at data and how they process it, in the different reports. That's definitely one of the features that I look at for my clients. Starting out, it's not as important because you really need to build that habit and discipline in creating that process. But the more established you are, the more important data that reporting is.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a feature you should look at.
And do you have to be like a data guru and understand analytics to read the reports and to really analyze to make decisions moving forward? Because the reports and the data is really how we make the next decision and the next decision in our
Right.
business.
Right. No, you don't have to be a data scientist in order to read the information and understand the report. Is definitely something that you'll think on and contemplate. And it's not something that you're going to look at and get right away. So
Yeah,
understand that it will take some time for you to think about, but it's good in that way because then you'll realize and understand the different connections that your activities have
yeah,
on the revenue that you generate and be able to experiment. So to me, I look at it as a fun piece of the CRM, but not everyone thinks like me. So
yeah. And you love it, so
yeah,
you're passionate about it. So of course, you look through it with a different lens than the rest of us do, because
yeah.
data and analytics, and I know that they're a valuable part of my business.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that I want to sit there and crunch the numbers all the time, right?
Right.
So
Right.
Um, there's the one of the questions that I had that I wanted to ask you was the difference between a platform that's already made versus actually a customized solution. Is there a system out there that's a complement to both, that is a platform that's already created that you can customize, or do you have to only do one or the other? You either buy technology that's currently there and use it as is,
Mhm.
or you customize technology and adapt it to the needs of your business?
Yeah. There are several, systems out there, that you buy, and it's completely customizable. And it really does depend on, one, your budget, the size of your company, and if you truly need something that is customizable to that extent.
Yeah.
One of the issues that people run into, that companies run into when they have a system that's customizable, is that it becomes really clunky.
Yeah.
And as the business evolves and they refine the different processes, they have to change the system,
Yeah.
and they run into issues with being able to do that and be flexible and do it in a timely manner. Most companies that I've worked with, they don't need a system to that extent. But if you do, there are systems like Microsoft Dynamics. That's a completely customizable system, and there are a lot of technology companies that use that as a platform to customize their client system.
Very good.
So they're out there, and then there are other tools that's not as expensive
Mhm.
as Microsoft, but not as well known, that you don't need a IT person to build it out per se for you, because you don't
Yeah.
need code, but you still would need assistance, some type of support to build that out.
Good.
Mhm,
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's
mhm.
important because I think, some people just think, well, I'm just going to customize. And then they don't think about, and I built software in the past. And then the big hurdle wasn't creating the software. It was maintaining the software and
Absolutely.
enhancing the software, right? And there's a
Mhm.
lot of money that gets involved with as technology and browsers change, you have to adapt your technology. And so those are some of the things that you really need to think about when you're making a customized solution, because it might fit today, but it might
Mhm.
not necessarily fit from a year or
Right.
two down the road. So that's
Right, right, and do you have the staff and the
yeah,
manpower to maintain it? And then even with the, on-site, deployment versus cloud, like, those are things that you really have to think about when considering a customized tool.
so is there anything that I haven't asked, Tamara, that I should have asked about CRMs that you want to talk a little bit about?
I think we covered it. CRM, this can be a heavy conversation or very detailed, and I realize that people can get overwhelmed by all the different aspects to think about, and that's the last thing I want to do for to the audience. Yeah.
So if they want to get a hold of you, where do they find you?
So I'm very active on LinkedIn. You could always email me as well, but don't be afraid to like reach out and uh, on LinkedIn, because again, very active
Yeah,
there.
that's the platform of your choice. So you heard it
Yeah.
here. If you want to get a hold of Tamara and
Mhm,
you have questions about CRM, go
mhm,
to LinkedIn because that's where she's going to answer you.
mhm.
So great. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity today to learn more about CRMs and more about your expertise. And it was a wealth of knowledge. And I hope that if you're listening to this or you're watching it, that you at least walked away with one or two golden nuggets that you can apply to your business.
Yeah.
Thanks for having a coffee with Lisa, and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.